like to welcome everybody today. To the Courtside Show with Coach Crist. I'm your host today, Steve Crozier, sitting in for Greg, who's away from his desk. Dave Gorby will be helping me. We're broadcasting live from Ripley, West Virginia, at 2081 Roadhouse, Scott Ludwig's place. And today we're having our second Jackson County series. We were here in September. We had Mick Price and Brian Canterbury, Ravenswood basketball, and we had Scott Ludwig and Randy Anderson played basketball at Ripley, and then on to Glenville. Today, the second series, we've got Ray Swisher to my left, Kenny Swisher to my right, and we're going to be covering a lot of the same type of questions and stuff surrounding, Ripley athletics, the community here, and different things. What you got, Gorby? Anything?
Well, I was just gonna say, Crow, me and you really haven't done just me and you for a while,
right.
And I always enjoy getting out on the road, meeting new people,
sure.
And usually when we're out on the road, we have pretty good food.
Oh, no question about it. Like I said, this is my favorite place to go. One, it's easy to get to. Two, my parents used to live here from 99 to 05, so I'm familiar with this area. Great people, and like I said, the host is second to none, Scott Ludwig. Great food, and just such a generous host. Okay, we're going to start off here with Coach Raymond Swisher. Coach, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for the listeners, and then we'll kind of start building on it from there, like your experiences at Ripley High School, when you went to school there, played ball, and so forth.
Well, we went to school here, went to junior high school, and played all sports, 3 sports during that time, and we had good success. We won, almost made the state championship in '66 football season, and then baseball we always had winning seasons. And then I went on to go to Wesleyan for 1 year, and finally I transferred down to where my brother was at Glenville State College, and they wanted me to play football, so I played football 3 years there, and I should have played baseball, but I didn't. And came back, played softball here at Ripley, played softball with Spencer team, and Cal Bailey got me on that team, and Cal's a big influence. We played together about 10 to 12 years, and of course, Cal stood out. That's not why I played, but I played too with him. And Cal's a tremendous player. We talked baseball all that time, and baseball was always big here at Ripley. And I decided to be the head coach. Job came up, and I was assistant 1 year, and then became the head coach and had good success, had good kids. And that's all.
Yeah, like I said, Cal was my college coach and stuff. I used to go with him in the summer, and he always talked about, after his minor league playing days, playing slow pitch softball, and man, the stories, like I said, we could sit here and have a show just on him telling stories and everything. But, it was amazing. But getting back to you, me and Gorb were out there in the hall where Scott puts the pictures up, and I had mentioned to you the 47-yard field goal that you kicked, I guess, at Wesleyan your first year. Now, I'll tell you what, and that record still stands. That's pretty daggone impressive in any era,
Well, that was at Glenville State.
Okay.
So I did kick at 47 yards. In the last game I played in, we kicked a field goal, and it didn't win, but we was way ahead. So I can remember those days.
Shoot you out. Those were the good days. Gorb, go ahead. Ask Kenny.
I was just got to piggyback on his question. Why don't you talk about yourself, too?
Mm-hmm. All right. Of course, I was a 3-sport athlete at Ripley High School, and I had to follow suit behind my 2 brothers. Don is 4 years older, and he was 4-sport 1, and of course Ray, and they kind of set the tempo that, I had to do good, and if you didn't do good, you weren't a Swisher. I'll tell you that. You had to really push, and everybody knew me by the time I come up through, just because of my brothers and stuff. And being a 3-sport athlete back then, that's just a standard procedure for most athletes when we were growing up. But anyway, I decided to go to Glenville State College and finish my career up there in baseball. Played 3 years there, and then when we're get back into a working profession, got an opportunity to coach, and girls basketball was coming on at that time from about 77 to 89. I spent 12 years there with them, and we at that time Ripley played with the big boys. You didn't have any easy games, very few. So we played all the way from the Kanawha Valley down to the Huntington area, those teams, and it was very, very challenging. And then after about 12 years, I thought, okay, I'm interested in doing some other things. So I got out of it. Plus, I had a son and a daughter that we were trying to encouraged to play some sports and help them out. So I helped raise them through the sports process. And when you get into that, you're going to help everybody. Is what you're doing. So I did that for a few years. And then when Ray got into the baseball, I did 2 years with him. But then when our daughters come along and the sons come along, I told him, I said, I just need to spend some more time with them and help them with this process, because you have to practice a lot to be a good ball player. Mm-hmm. And when you're trying to do both, it's almost impossible to spend time with a school team and your family like you should. So I got out of that, and of course he didn't have any problem finding somebody to help him, but I spent about 10 years or so there doing that, and then a few friends that I used to play ball with got into officiating, and I officiated basketball, officiated baseball, and umpired softball, and I did that for a while, about 8 or 9 years, and I was very fortunate. 2 times I was asked to umpire the state tournament. And I really enjoyed that upper level like that, and being able to travel and see the other teams around the state. And I did 1 year of West Virginia Conference umpiring softball, but then we came to 2005, and my daughter hit high school at that time, and they needed coaches, and softball was a sport that I hadn't coached much of, but since I'd played baseball all my life, I felt that I could adjust and help the program. So in 2005, I took over the program and spent 18 years there, and that very successful. We were very, very lucky. Had a great group of kids all the way through. Can't pick one group over top of others, because the kids that I coached, they were coachable. The parents backed us, and in 2009 we were fortunate we won it all. And when you get to that point and you win it all, there's no sitting up on the hillside and watching everybody else play. We were lucky. We were the ones on there, and people were watching us play, and that was one of the most satisfying years that we've had. Finished up 2 years ago, and it's a lifelong career of teaching for 44 years and coaching most of those years.
Going back to your Ripley days, you're talking about being a small town, playing against the big boys. I coach at Oak Hill right now, so I know exactly what you mean. Athletes dealing with right now, their best sport, it sounds like baseball was your best sport. Was that your favorite sport? Usually that's not their favorite sport nowadays.
No, baseball was not my favorite sport. It was just the one I was better at than the others. Mm-hmm. Now, who knows why? But I was never sitting in the house looking at a monitor. Mom was always saying, outside. It's beautiful out there.
Yeah,
Get out there, do something. So I'm out there throwing balls against the walls, hitting balls up and trying to catch them myself when I didn't have a friend to play with. But basketball, I was decent. Football, hey, just try to stay out of the way of the big boys.
Question for both you guys. Ray, you can answer this first. I was just sitting there listening to what Gorb said. Ripley, to me, is a community high school. In other words, the community, a lot of the activities are going to revolve around the high school, kind of like the Cardinal Conference now. Winfield's, your Chapmanville's, your Logan's, Madison's, places that the high school is the big deal in the community. Not so much now in some of these bigger schools, but my question is this. You're here in the community. You went to school here, both you guys, and people know you. All right, you're coaching their kids and their grandkids, and I've coached for a long time myself, and I know that creates a different type of pressure. People know you, and let's just say, hey, my boy should be playing shortstop, or maybe it's a close type of thing. I know sometimes in these. In towns like this, friendships get stretched a little bit, because people, want their kids to play. All parents do, but they don't look at it objectively. But to stay in one place where you went to high school at, and then come back and teach, the familiarity with everybody and stuff like that. I know there's probably a lot of good things, but there's probably some things too where things might have been stretched a little bit.
Well, I looked at the schedule, and what helps these boys and the parents decide is a schedule. And we played best in the Kanawha Valley, best in Huntington, and all over the state. We just didn't go to Jefferson County because it's too far. And these parents could see when balls was hit to their kids where they can make the play or not. And then if they didn't, we'd switch them over to another position. And we had good kids in 2004 and then 97. And this is what I aimed at. I tried to make the schedule tough enough so the parents could see their kids couldn't play at that level.
Sure. Right. Let me ask you this, Ray. I know you won a state championship in 97 and 204. How many other times did you go to state tournament? You remember?
We went, I think, 6 times to the state tournament, but we didn't win. One time we should have caught a ball. It fell where the player was positioned, right, and came down and fell right at his position, and he circled the ball, and he regrets it today.
Right, exactly. We're going to ask Kenny the same thing. My next question is, start thinking about this. Some of the better players that's played for you, college, high school, draft guys, stuff like that. Kenny, the question is, coaching in a community like this, like I said, obviously there's some advantages. Everybody knows everybody, but too, sometimes I know how parents are as far as the level of expectation. Like, hey, I've been lifelong friends with you. Can't my daughter get a break on the softball team or something like that, or did we run into that very much?
Well, in girls' sports, you have a lot of parents in girls' sports that when I first started coaching, they were not seasoned. Now, their sons, baseball, football, and that stuff, they understand it, and they can tell you most of the time what ought to be going on. But in the girls' sports, when we first started with the basketball and the softball and stuff, it was pretty new to everybody. So there weren't too many too aggressive with you. Occasionally, yes, you always have that. They're not realistic about their child's abilities. But when you take the time to have a parent meeting and tell them your background, which my background in every sport except for wrestling and tennis and stuff was pretty impressive for most of them because, I'd umpired the state tournament. So I must know what I'm doing, okay? Must know a lot about the sport and stuff. And like Ray, I played with Cal Bailey in the summer times and played a lot of slow pitch, which really coordinates with the fast pitch. There's not much difference. And when you have these backgrounds that you played some college ball, and your resume speaks for itself, basically. So that solves a lot of problems. You got to let them know, because most of them don't know. And when I went through my history when I first took over and just set all the parents down and told them to say, I'll do the best I can with them, but I will not be perfect, but I will give you the best effort in the world. You won't want to ask for anybody else. Probably I will be out the practice field more than they'll be in the classroom, and you'll have to say, hey, they got school tomorrow. But that's good that parents question you, because you have to learn to handle that. You've got to learn to take the time, explain to them, and then you need to know the sport well enough to tell them, pinpoint it. Well, your daughter's not the fastest kid out here, so they can't play the outfield position. These things, they all come up. And but even though in the summertime they coach their daughter, and the travel ball, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It creates some problems because their daughter doesn't play where you think they ought to play. But I was very fortunate to have people and good people. And, the last probably 5 or 6 years, I had players come back to me and help coach, because they like what we did more than what they accomplished in college. And I felt really good about that. Thank you.
I was going to ask you, Gord. Kenny, you retired 2021. 21.
Yeah.
So he's been in the game in the modernized era with the parents and stuff. Dave, here, our co-host, coaches at Oak Hill. He's in it now. Does football, basketball, track, and everything. Yeah. What are some of the things you see shifting as far as the parent side? How long have you been coaching?
Oh, I started coaching basketball. I started coaching basketball in 2005 at Mount Hope. And then I got to Fayetteville for a few years, and I've been with Oak Hill basketball since 17. And football, I've been over at Oak Hill since Mount Hope closed in 11. And track, I just started coaching track just a few years ago. But the one real big change, and you kind of hit on it, coaching girls sports. They weren't seasoned enough. It's turned in. You think back in the off season, all football was just lifting weights. Now you got to lift weights all year round, and now you got these 7-on-7s to go to. Basketball, you got to go, like you said, you got travel. We'll go to UC this year. We'll go probably to Marshall and play a few games on a couple days in the summer. But it just seems like, it's hitting these small towns just like Ripley, and it's hitting Oak Hill, like where you guys were multi-sport athletes. Now they're turning into one-dimensional sports athletes. That's the biggest difference I'm starting to see.
Right. That's a good point. And getting back to Ray, I had posed a question. How many years you started in '76? If my notes were right, as a head coach, retired in 2010. So 35 years head coach.
36 years.
36 years as a head coach. My goodness, time goes by fast. I can remember when I was at Winfield. Ray came down there. We played one time out near the highway there on the old cornfield and stuff, until we got the new ballpark behind the high school. But my question to Ray is this: 36 years of being the head coach here at Ripley, ultra successful, 6 state tournaments, two state championships. Mention to us some of your better players.
We had Frankie Cummings, who's still here coaching at Ripley now, which helps our program in baseball. And we had Josh Whitlock. He's playing down in Charlotte. He went from baseball with the Cubs to softball. And then we had Dale Kestner, who pitched for Potomac State, and Morgan Clendenin, who played for Baltimore. and he was tremendous athlete, and we go Scott Walters back through the generation, Kevin Thompson, who went to Duke, and that's basically the ones. I don't think I missed any. I hope not.
I'll tell you what's ironic. I was looking out I was showing Gorb, over there when we were looking at your 47-yard kick, and I come to the end of the pictures and I see Kevin Thompson, and I thought, well, heck, I coached Kevin in the Great Lakes League after he left you, I think, at Duke. And he was one of our starting pitchers. I was in Sandusky up in Lake Erie, and Kevin did a nice job. And I was reading, I wasn't sure if he got drafted, and then I noticed it said that he had played through a few injuries and stuff, But good pitcher, good kid.
Good kid. He's a real good kid, and he had a real good arm. He went to Duke and to pitch and blew his arm out, and that ended him. He had surgery, and they dropped. When you have injuries like that, they'll drop you.
Sure. Tell you another story too. When I was with the Rays, some of the athletic trainers came over from Baltimore, and they had Morgan Clendenin in the minor leagues, and they tell the story that one time, it might have been when he was in Bluefield, he gets hurt. I don't know if it's a cut or something that needed medical attention, and they take him back here and stuff, and I don't know, they go to get their bag and doctor him up, and he was so upset that he started walking back to the hotel, something like that. But they said the guy was very rambunctious, hardcore guy. I think made up to AAA, didn't he?
Yeah, he made AAA the last thing I had on him, and he was. They catchers catch one day and sit out the next day, and he happened to be sitting out that day. And they was playing somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but the bases were loaded, and they was behind, and he came up bat and hit a daggone grand slam and won the game for him. But he was offered a job in Florida, but he didn't take it, but they didn't keep him. Right. So they released him.
Sure. I don't know how many years roughly did he get in? 5, 6 years in the minor leagues?
He's only about 3 years in the minor leagues.
Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, that's a name. Obviously, did some great things coming out of Ripley. Like I said, I know Kevin Thompson, and there's a multitude of players. Gordon asked Kenny. I'm sure Kenny's he's got a ton of players.
Well, first of all, I need to mention my 2013 team. Well, 2014, 2015, 2016, 3 out of the 4 years we were in the States. Now, of course, we ran into some really good teams once we got to there, but we were really happy with those kids because they had self-drive every year to try to make it back there and try to win it. We didn't win it any of those years, but they were so determined to get there. They enjoyed their trip and got the recognition they should have because they made it to the States. Now, I had some outstanding ones in the 09 that were recognized here lately. Allie Southall, she was 24-0 that year, so she was a pitcher, and man, what a success! And it's come down to her parents. They worked and worked and worked, and every year she got better and better. And it was such a joy to see this girl just climb the ladder and get there. And then we had a girl that was recognized at Marietta College. Just a minute here. Michelle Sayer. She was just taken into their Hall of Fame up there because she, from the 09 team, she went up there and played and holds the home run record up there. So that was that. I'm dealing with outstanding people, and she was another one that just kept getting better and better. And she was an all-round athlete. She could play shortstop. She could play outfield. She could pitch. Actually, not too many can do it all, and she was one of those. It's just special kid. Had a couple more that went on. Carly Calden went to Glenville and played. Kelsey Moore ended up at West Virginia Tech playing. Let's see, who else here? Johnny Waskey and Paige Swisher. That's Ray's daughter, granddaughter there. She was at West Virginia State playing. And So, I had kids spread out all over the place, but at the same time, they earned that right. They spent the time, and they played a lot all season. And not all of those kids played 3 sports like you're talking about. They concentrated on 1 or 2, and rode the horses as best they could and made the best of it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, we're going to take a short break here, and we'll be right back on the Courtside with Coach Crist show. Thanks.
Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network. See hard-hitting wrestling action from today's rising stars in independent wrestling. If you are a wrestling fan of any generation, let us introduce you to the hottest wrestling promotion in West Virginia. You can also join a live show at the Crossroads Mall. Retro Reset Wrestling is coming to you every Thursday at 9 p.m. on the New River Network.
To the Courtside show with Coach Crist. I'm Steve Crozier, sitting in for Greg today, who had to be away from his desk, and got Dave Gorby with me. Today we're talking with the Swisher brothers, Ray Swisher to my left, Kenny to my right, and I just mentioned to Ray a question that will be coming your way here in a second, Kenny. I asked Ray, I said, 36 years of coaching baseball. I don't know if you coached anything before that or not. That's a long, decorated career. You know, what I'm seeing now in athletics more so than anything, especially at the high school level, because, one, it doesn't pay much. Long hours, you know. You got to deal with parents and several different things. Maybe, you know, when I first started coaching, that you didn't have to pay a particular amount of time to. But I asked Ray, I said, you know, what has it meant for 36 years coaching Ripley baseball, living in this community, you know, that you went to school at, and you came back, you got an opportunity? Because I know we've had John Lowry from Jefferson County up to the museum some, and I mentioned, you know, you guys, we'll get you involved next time we have a program. We'll get you guys up there. And John Lowry tells the story of this. He's won 12 state championships, and he tells me how he got the job. I think he started out at Charlestown, and they were closing it, and he was about the 4th choice for the baseball job. And one guy took football, one guy took basketball, one guy took track, and John said, I'll take the baseball if you want me. So, and then the rest of it, as they say, is history. But coaching for that long a period of time in this community, what's that meant to you? How many children have you had come through Ripley High School?
Well, you know, I've had my son played football and didn't play basketball, played baseball, and my grandkids played softball for Ripley High School. But it's an honor because I went to school here, and you want to see that school do well, and so we have, I think we was on top in baseball, 97 and 2004, and had some good kids. And that's what kept me here, because I saw down the road in 4 years that we could do some good damage to the state tournament, and that's why I stayed.
And the thing about it is, obviously, you had a vested interest in coming back here, but a teaching job has to, come open in Jackson County. I don't know if you started at the high school or maybe at middle or elementary and worked your way up, and then the baseball job has to open up. If I heard you right, did you tell me you assisted 1 year?
Yeah, I assisted 1 year. We ended up in the state tournament. We played DuPont. It used to be it's Riverside now, right. So that's influenced me to stay here.
Who did you help that year?
Dave Rawson. I helped him 1 year, and we did real good. I had a real good team, but DuPont had a better team.
What year was that? 70?
It had to be 75.
75. Okay. Yep. That's amazing. I mean, just through the different generations, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and then the 2s, and I can just attest. And I didn't realize Kenny was an educator too, but a lot of the people that I've worked with in athletics, and I've worked a lot at the college and professional level, and I see this with people, I gotta feel like the teaching background's got to help you, because one, you got to show up at 7:30 if you start teaching at 8 o'clock. You've got to be in your room managing kids. You got to have plans. You got to get a group of people moving in the same direction. And I think those type of people make the best coaches after 3 o'clock. Now, Kenny, what's it meant to you as far as staying in this community coaching?
Well, it's one of those things that you dream about, being able to lead your alma mater and give them what they need as far as instruction, and having them remember that life is short. Make the most of it each day. Approach it with a purpose. And if you get lucky and get with a group of guys, which you'll be talking to one of my best buddies here, Terry Landis, sitting over there watching us, we came up all the way through from the midget leagues through Ripley. Every sport offered that we could play in, we did it, and he was my assistant in middle school and high school, and we helped each other. But the only thing I haven't been able to beat him at, though, is his golf game. It's pretty good, So, but anyway, as far as coaching, all these years, 30 as a head coach, your teaching basically background will give you the ability to sell your program to the kids, because if you can sell the kids to keep themselves under control, come in, play hard, and take it for what it's worth, and then be ready for the next day, you'll be a very good instructor. And I think we, out of 30 years, there were only 2 years that we did not win. And some of my best friends always remind me about that kind of stuff, is that, hey, there was 2 years there, you didn't do your job.
Right. Just from listening to people, all these communities, and we're setting up a podcast this summer at North Fork. We're going to chronicle North Fork basketball in McDowell County, and just virtually about everybody's moved out of there and stuff. But what I'll get back with you, Ray. What are you doing right now, as far as after you've retired from teaching, you've retired from coaching? What do you do during the day?
Basically, I'm retired. I work around the house, do things, and I've been trying to influence kids. It doesn't make any difference where you're from. Right. From Ravenswood over here, there's a couple of kids. I was trying to influence them to stay in baseball or get in baseball, and I'll do that for anybody. It doesn't make any difference to me where you're from.
Sure. Kind of lost my train of thought. I brought up the North Fork program this summer. We'll go back and chronicle them. But when I'm out and abroad, and Gorb's out more than I am now because he's active in coaching at Oak Hill, you hear this community. When I hear Ripley, people talk baseball and softball. I mean, don't let Scott hear that. He's a basketballer. But, those are the two things that come to the forefront. and each kind of community obviously has its niche, because obviously I think the programs that sustain time, just like when we had Mick Price on here, he's done a phenomenal job for 40 some years, and the one constant with Ravenswood basketball is Mick Price. It's not the kids. So it takes a lot of time to do that. But what are you doing now, Kenny, with your time? A lot of time.
Well, I try to play as much golf as I can, but the weather's not permitting us to do that.
This is my guy right here. I'm telling you. I played Thursday. Before we played Beckley, I played Thursday.
There you go. There you go.
I had to get my mind off things.
Yeah. Of course, when I hit 70, you always have physical conditions when you get older and stuff, and trying to work on them some and get a little exercise, and the golf helps. But just do a walking regimen each day if I can, or every other day. See, I've got grandkids that are going through here, and I have to brag on my Caleb Swisher last year. He was first team All-State for Ripley High School baseball, and Caitlin was in the program. She was just a junior. She's a senior this year, and she was second team All-State in the softball. So, I spent some time with them, and her dad did most of it. And I've got other grandkids, so I spend a lot of time going and watching some basketball and soccer and the softball and stuff. So I've got my hands full still. I thought it would slow up, but the grandkids had a different opinion, which is great.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, I thought when I retired that, I'd have a lot of time and stuff, but especially with you guys, what you do is you start plugging in things because you're used to staying busy. You're getting up early in the morning and teaching. Then you go straight into coaching. Then you come home and manage your family life and everything. So people like that, have a tendency to stay busy and, do stuff all the time and everything, and I think that's what keeps you young too. Because I think once you stop kind of moving and not staying active in the things that obviously are interest to you, which obviously I've got 3 grandsons now, and you've got grandchildren and different things. And I try to I help baseball at West Virginia Tech, and I try to some of the experiences that I can share with other kids, because like I said earlier in the show, a lot of your coaches now, and you comment on this, Ray, especially at the high school level, they're not staying in it probably 5, 8, 10 years. I'm 40-year coach, you're 40-year coach, Kenny's a 40-year coach, Court's been in there close to 20, and he's going strong. And, kind of where do you see that impact with the coaches, so much turnover and stuff? Obviously it it's not going to help build a program. I mean, if you'd been at Ripley 5 years and left, it wouldn't have been like what it was when you handed it over to Shane. So what's your thoughts on that, as far as coaching and staying in it, and the people now not staying in it so much?
Well, these young kids need to get out and work. You all mentioned this a while ago, on the weights and things like that. And I try to influence them. I didn't mention this a while ago, but I still play senior softball. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I still play, try to play. And I mentioned that to those kids and younger generation, and that helps them. They say, think of themselves in the mind that maybe I should try it one year. So they try it, and that helps influence them.
Yeah, I think what you just mentioned about senior softball, I think it's amazing. We were over at Bryce Casto's at the funeral home, and I ran into Ray, and I asked him, I said, are you still playing, softball? And he said, yep, still playing. I said, what about the season? He said, well, we usually start in the spring and wrap up late fall. So, I mean, that's that's basically like a minor league, with your spring training, play a minor league season through late spring in the summer, and then come back and do instructional league in the fall and everything. That's a long season. But, it's a great form of exercise. You're still competing, which there's no substitute for competition. I run and lift weights a lot and stuff like that, and I compete against myself. We're raised out there competing against other people, in a competitive environment, which, as you get older, like Kenny said, normally your body starts breaking down a little bit, and, you start being reduced in the amount of activities that you can do. And such. What about you, Kenny? What are some of the things you do now? I mean, you mentioned playing golf. You do anything else?
Right. No, just basically working around the house and stuff. And of course, in the wintertime, you just do the walking and that you can do, and small weights. Stretch bands are another one that you can do and stuff to help out. But of course, in the summertime, playing golf 2 or 3 days a week, that pretty well takes care of most of that. And you get out and with my grandkids, I'm still passing ball and hit pitching to them and hitting and stuff, and that takes quite a bit of energy to do those things, but at the same time, it's so enjoyable to be with your grandkids doing that.
Sure, exactly. Kenny mentioned cutting grass. I do a lot of that where I live at now. My parents let me have their house when they passed away up in Raleigh County, and I tell the people I love working outside. I love cutting grass. You know why? They said, why is that? And I said, because grass doesn't talk back. You can cut it, you can walk away from it, and make it look good. Yeah. We want to thank you guys for coming on, and like I said, this is the second series of Jackson County. We've got Terry Landis waiting on the wings with the next show and stuff, but Ray Swisher, Kenny Swisher, kind of chronicled, what they'd been through going through high school, playing in college at Ripley High School, and then afterlife, all the successes they've had, and what I've liked, even Scott, who hopefully he'll stick his head in here, we can talk to him a little bit. All these guys are from here, went out, did good, came back, and have been pillars of the community, coached here, and like I said, when you're coaching at the high school level, basically it's like volunteer work. So they've done a lot of good community service work, taught a lot of lessons in life, especially to these Ripley kids in Jackson County and stuff, and we're just tickled to death to have them. And by the way, we our West Virginia Baseball Coaches Association last month, and we brought back Ray and some of the past Hall of Famers, and Ray was one of the 4 or 5 that came back and everything, and just had an illustrious career. I didn't realize, how big a career Kenny has had on the softball and girls basketball side, and I didn't realize Kenny had, we were talking before the show, taught 44 years of elementary physical education, which is amazing within the realm of itself. So we'd like to thank both of you guys. Gorb, anything before we?
Well, on that, it just kind of reminded me, hey, congratulations on your Hall of Fame just a couple weeks ago.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if it wasn't for guys like that helping push me in, I wouldn't have got in. And when I was inducted, that's the big thing that I wanted to reiterate was, a lot of the coaches who were in, they get a vote. And, I talked to Ray. Ray supported me, and I really appreciate that because, to me, getting an award means a lot more when your peers are behind you. It doesn't mean as much when the people that you're competing against, if they don't have a level of respect or admiration from you and stuff. And like I said, I've always admired Ray. Ray's been here and done a great job. I didn't know Kenny as much, but that's these relationships, whether how close they are or medium or distant, athletics help forge a lot of these relationships that we have with kids, adults, and stuff like that. And we're just tickled to death. I'd mentioned to Ray when I talked to him late in the fall, about coming out here. We just kind of kept getting pushed back and everything. But we're so glad that we could get both of you guys on the show, and continued success. When we come back out here again, we'll try to get back in touch with you and get you guys back on again, okay? But thank you, Kenny Swisher, Ray Swisher.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, that's the end of this show, and we've got another one coming up, Courtside with Coach Crist. This is Steve Crozier.
Dave Gorby.
Signing off here in Ripley. Thank you.